Namaste. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to class. So this morning's class is going to start the series focusing on the prana vayus, the vital energies and the vital airs of the body. So today's class, we're going to start at the bottom, Apana Vayu, that grounding, rooting, solid energy. So finding yourself a comfortable seat, getting ourselves comfortable for a moment. Tall spine. Every place you're making contact with the floor, relax into that place. And then out of that soft base, let your spine lift up like a young tree reaching up for the sky. Bringing the hands into the heart, resting your thumbs gently on the sternum. And then either a soft gaze out below or closing the eyes completely. Noticing the breath. Finding the rise and the fall, either in the belly or the chest. With gratitude, we salute all the great yoga masters, past and present. With joy, we recognize the excellent wisdom teachings of yoga, Ayurveda. With vigor, we dedicate ourselves to self-transforming practice. So what would you like for self-transformation today? Just letting that thought come into your mind. Holding it there, and then stating it positively as if it has already happened. 3 times. Your Sankalpa. And then letting that thought slip out of your mind down into your heart space. We'll bring it back at the end of class. And join me if you can in one resounding Om. Exhaling the breath out. And then letting your eyes flutter open. And release your hands down to the legs for a moment, just resting the hands on the legs and noticing the downward flow. Everything that's keeping you grounded, everything that's keeping you down, gravity itself. The seat of the Apana Vayu is Muladhara Chakra, the very base root chakra that's underneath our spine, right at the very bottom of our whole body. Probably not even noticeably in it anymore. So just stimulating that area by making circles around the pelvic basket. So the pelvic floor is engaged. Sit bone, pubic bone, sit bone, tailbone, sort of rotating and then going back in the other direction. Good. And then an upright spine. Lift the pelvic floor. So feel the pelvic floor lift, the space between sit bone, pubic bone, tailbone. Good. Excellent. And then as you exhale the next time, bring your belly button back to your spine. And inhale into the chest region. Just inhaling into the chest for a few nice breaths, chest breaths. And then again, feeling that reaching down, rooting down. Great. Go ahead and taking your left hand out on the floor. Your right arm, just reach it up to the ceiling, straight up, not over yet. Palm facing me. Good. And then gently, I want you to open palm and chest out toward the right. Just pressing into your left hand, opening a little bit in the thoracic spine. Your gaze can follow your sternum, so you're looking a little bit out to the right. Good. And then you're going to bend your right hand, bend the elbow, and then place the right hand somewhere reaching around for your left thigh. Just imagine it can get somewhere back there for your left thigh for a moment. You're still leaning a bit. Good. Still opening chest and heart. And rooting down as the pelvic floor lifts. Then release the arm up, palm again facing me. And then slowly unwind until you come back into neutral. Release the arm. Good. And then taking the right hand onto the floor, go ahead and lift up your left arm, palm facing me. Good. Pull in the belly, breathing just into the chest area. Lift the pelvic floor. And then slowly begin to open your heart, your chest. Head is moving over the sternum out to the left. Just what you can do without pressing and gripping and anything that's nice and even. And then go ahead and bend your left arm, bend it at the elbow, and just reach around and see if you have anything of your right thigh. And then release the left arm back up, palm facing me. Untwist, come back into neutral, and then release the left arm completely. Good. And then coming into all fours. So in this little vinyasa, this little putting breath to choreographed movement, that's really all vinyasa is. So as we breathe and move through this, go ahead and curl your feet under, put your sit bones right on your ankles, right on your heels, somewhere like that, right? So that you feel that lift the pelvic floor. And then we're going to reach forward, curl, come back into neutral, and then take your tailbone back. Come up, curl, chin to chest, round the spine. Look forward and take your tailbone back, hips to heels. Again, coming up, gazing forward, one more, up, try your exhale here, really press the breath out, get round, inhale, look forward, and then exhale, take your hips down to your heels. Good. And then lay out your toes for a moment, just lay the toes out along the floor. Separate your knees a little bit, and you're headed again with your hips towards your heels. Extend the arms out, look out for a moment. Just press the hips into the heels, heels into the thighs. And then bend your elbows, put your arms down, forearms down, and then hold close to your elbows and make a little pillow for your head and just rest for a moment. So just resting, forehead toward the floor. Good, and then inhale, look forward, bring your forearms back out, and then slide yourself over into a plank on your knees, okay? Pull in the belly, don't let the belly sag, pull in the belly, press it to the hands. You're on your knees, but you have a long line of energy. Really lifting the pelvic floor. And then again, hips back to heels, this time sitting with your feet extended out. Good, Vajrasana, Thunderbolt Pose. Excellent. And then curl the toes under. Sitting back again, feel that downward flow of energy. Rooting, grounding, keeping us solidly headed toward the floor. And then come up onto the ball of the foot. Put your hands down on the floor. Balance onto your hands and feet. Hands and feet both balancing. And notice that downward flow. Pull the belly in. Belly's pulled in, compressed there. Breath is in the chest. See if you can get it into the back ribs for a moment. And then slowly begin to let the heels go toward the floor as you reach your arms away. So counterbalancing. And then bottoms up, hands down and looking forward. Bring the hands to right above the knees. Hug your arms into your ribs and then straighten the arms to bring yourself up. Good. So Apana Vayu encompasses all of our below our rib cage, right at the belly button, below headed down. So all of the pelvic basket, the legs, the lower abdomen, pelvic basket, bottom, legs, everything headed down. Okay? So it's really needed for us to root and ground. So we can think about growing tendrils down through Mother Earth. So let's take the legs apart. Good. And then lift the pelvic floor. Just lifting the pelvic floor. Externally rotate your left leg. Just externally rotating. Lift the pelvic floor. Bring the belly in. Good. Arms out to the side for a moment. And then release the arms and unrotate the leg. Good. Same thing on the other side. Rotate the right leg. Good. Arms out to the side. Excellent. Release the arms and unrotate the leg. Just notice how the pelvic floor has to be engaged for that to be efficient for you. Okay? So the pelvic floor is lifted, Muladhara chakra is stimulated, which is why standing poses are such an important part of our practice. They not only help us work out and move through postural anomalies, they also help us to stay grounded and rooted, because you really need to root down through your feet and tether through the center part of the body, the very center part of the body, the Muladhara chakra, okay? Which is why many of our Apana Vayu poses are on the floor, stimulating the whole area of the whole anal and bottom area, okay? But we're going to do it now standing, because the legs too are very much a part of Apana Vayu. So we're going to externally rotate again, the left leg. Good, just finding that external rotation. Excellent. And then lean a little bit, just letting your left arm hang for a moment. Lean. Try not to arc. Make sure your bottom side is as long as your top side. So both of these sides are the same. Arms out to the side for a moment. Good. And then you're going to notice for a moment when I drop my left arm down, I create a triangle right here with my arm. So right in between the middle of the body. Okay? The arm, right arm reaching up, left arm reaching down. Good. And then bend the left knee. Go ahead and let the body continue to stay at that angle. Draw in the right arm, side angle pose. Lift up the pelvic floor. Belly is in. Everything is in and engaged. And then exhale to come back up, straighten the leg. Arms out to the side and release. Bend the knee gently and unrotate. And then let's rotate to the right. Good. Notice how your pelvis goes a little bit to that side now, okay? And lean. Just letting the right arm be for a moment. Left arm up. Good. Excellent. Just hold it. Lift the pelvic floor. Root down, growing some tendrils down through your feet, reaching into Mother Earth. And then bend the right knee. You can keep your arm there, or you can just rest your hand on your thigh. Just don't really pull into it. Tuck the left arm in close to the ear. Side angle pose. Good. And then coming up, straighten the leg, arms to the side, and then unrotate. Lift the pelvic floor. Feel that really engage, and then heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Good. Finding Tadasana. Becoming very aware of the pelvic floor. Close your eyes, take 6 or 8 breaths. Resting, body, breath, mind. Good. And then coming out again. We're just going to do one more little standing series, and then we're going to go back to the floor because most of our Apana Vayu can be stimulated most easily Muladhara Chakra from the floor. So we're going to do one more standing series. Let's start on the right side this time. Externally rotate the right leg. Good. Bend the right knee or your 2 legs. Reach back through your left leg. Really reach back. See if you need to kick your left heel out a little to even yourself up. Pull up through the pelvic floor. Bring in your belly. Make sure your ribs are in the body, not dipping forward with your bottom stuck out. Really nice, tall spine. Arms to the side. Good. And then gazing out, adding the neck. Gazing out over your extended finger. And then reach out to the right. Reach, reach, reach. Lift the pelvic floor as you reach, reach, reach. Resting your forearm somewhere along your knee or thigh. And then left arm up, tuck it in close to the ear. Good. And then go ahead and take the palm of your right hand and place it there. Good. Excellent. And then straighten the leg. Don't push into the knee. That's just to help you gauge. And then triangle. Lift the pelvic floor. Feel that engagement. Stimulation of Muladhara Chakra. And we're going to exhale back up to warrior 2 legs, warrior 2 arms, warrior 2 gaze. On our next exhale, arms overhead, straighten the legs, look to the front. And exhale, hands to the heart. Unrotate the right leg. Good. And now let's go with the left leg. Excellent. Again, lift up through the pelvic floor, belly in, everything in. Arms out to the side, bend the knee. Good. So gazing out for a moment in your warrior 2. And then lift the pelvic floor as you reach, 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 reach to the left. Good. Placing your forearm somewhere along the left thigh. And then arm. Right arm up toward the ceiling, sometimes initially. Tucked in towards your ear, making a long diagonal line. Side angle pose. And then now taking our left hand, placing it, just don't push into the knee. Make sure there's no real weight there. This is just to help you stay aligned. Straighten the leg. Good. Reach up the right arm. Left arm, helping you just to open, and the bottom is as long as the top. Good. On our next exhale, we're going to go to warrior 2 leg, warrior 2 arms, warrior 2 gaze. And our next exhale, we're going to straighten the leg, arms up overhead, inhale. Looking front and center, and exhale, hands into the heart. Good. Bend the knee slightly and unrotate. Heel, toe, heel. We're going to lower for a moment into goddess pose. Goddess can also be very good for helping us learn to lift the pelvic floor because gravity is just dropping it down. Right now we have to resist against gravity. Knees are stacked over the ankles. Knees and second and third toes are headed in the same direction. Pelvic floor is lifted. You're welcome to stay right here. You might want to come up. Kali. Good. Belly is in. Ribs are in. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe. And then straighten the legs. Good. And then toe, heel again. We're going to go down into a squat. You may need to even heel toe a couple more times. Squat. Good. So this wonderful squat pose is our very best pose for Apana Vayu. So if you're on a heavy menstrual cycle, get out of the pose. Your Apana is already really working overtime, right? If you have diarrhea, don't do the pose. This is to help that downward flow. So we want to do it if we're constipated, if we need a regular menstrual cycle, if we need that Apana grounding, okay? So this is our squat. It turns into a rosary if we bind. If you're not binding, it is not a rosary. So Malasana means rosary pose, okay? So we're going to open our body nice and big and open and look out to the left. Take your thumbs up as if you were hitchhiking. And then dive the thumbs down. And reach your arms back around and see if you can hold on to anything back there. Creating a rosary around your right leg. Keep your neck out of the equation. Softness. And then release. Good. And then to the other side. Open nice and big, thumbs up. Dive the thumbs down and see if you can reach around and hold on to anything around your left leg. Just breathing. Keep your neck out of it. Don't let your neck get trapped. And then release. Hands back into the heart. Bring your hands back into Namaskar. And then take the hands back behind you and slowly lower your sit bones to the floor. Good. Extend your legs out in front, Dandasana. Active Dandasana. So really reaching down. Notice the pelvic floor. Become aware of the relationship of the diamond you created, sit bone, pubic bone, tailbone. Lift up. Let your knees bend slightly. If you feel any tension in your low back, just let your knees softly bend. There's no sense in pushing through and something is fighting. Your hips are being fought for between your QL from your low back all the way to your quadriceps and your thigh and the backs of your thighs or hamstrings. Really, your quadriceps just act as antagonists. But it's all in there together. So press through the heels. Keep the heels firmly on the floor. Very active pose. Staff pose. And then we're going to release and just be in the pose for a moment as we let our legs just soften. Feet just flop out. Come up onto the sit bones. Make sure you're on your sit bones. Keep the knees slightly bent. Good. And then you're going to draw in your left leg and putting your left heel firmly against your left inner thigh. If your knee is on the floor, great. If it's not on the floor, put a block or something underneath this. So this pose, Janu Shirshasana. Janu means your knee, and Shira is your head region. So while it's nice to do the pose going out like that, that's fine. We're going to undulate a few times and do it. But I want you to feel how the undulation is happening over that diamond in your pelvic floor. Okay? Because our final pose is going to be to really curl and round and round and round. We want the relationship between the crown of the head, somewhere between your hairline and the crown of the head, relationship to the knee. They don't have to touch, but we want a circuit of energy, okay? So let's undulate a few times. Sitting up on that diamond, good. Go ahead and bring your arms up overhead. And as if we were rowing a boat, row out a little bit and in. Let's exhale, belly to spine, roll out a little bit, and inhale back. You have more strength on your exhale. Exhale, belly to spine, out. Inhale, return. And exhale, out. Inhale, return. And then relax your hands to the floor. Begin to curl your chin into your chest. You can have a very slight bend in your right knee. And then as you exhale, allow yourself to curl in more and more with each exhaled breath until you form a circuit of energy from the head to the knee and focusing on the pelvic floor. Keep the right foot engaged, heel is on the floor, pressing through the heel, even with the knee bent, still pressing in. And then on your next inhale, look out past your right toes. And then use your arms to straighten yourself up. Don't use your low back. Just straighten your arms, come back up. Good. And then release the left leg. Alrighty, let's take our right leg in. So the right sole of the foot is on the inside of the left thigh. And if that knee is not on the floor, place a block or something to get that nice solid pelvic area. Good. Lift the pelvic floor. Be aware of the diamond space that you have there. Okay? Beautiful. And we're going to row our boat. So we're going to exhale out, belly to spine. Inhale back. Exhale out. You can have a gentle bend in the left knee. And inhale back. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And then exhale, let's stay. So stay out. Take your hands to the floor. Walk your hands until they're back between your knee and around the area of your thigh. And then exhale and continue to curl in. You can have a slight bend to your left knee, but keep the heel on the floor and the foot active. Feel your spine, your thoracic spine, curl. Pelvic floor lifts. Breathe. And then on your next inhale, looking out past your big toe, begin to straighten the arm on the exhale, coming up. Nice tall spine. Beautiful, really tall spine. Become aware of that diamond. And then go ahead and release your right leg. So balancing up on the sit bones. Just rock for a second from sit bone to sit bone. Press through the heels so you're firmly seated. Go ahead and bend your knees a slight bit. Just enough that you've got plenty of space there. And then think about taking your ribs to your thighs and back up. So you're using your hands to push you back up, not anything else. Lean over, ribs to thighs, and push back up with your arms. Lean over, ribs to thighs. Push back up. And one more time. Lean over, ribs toward thighs. They don't have to touch. And push back up. Good. Now we're going to take the soles of the feet together into Vajrasana, often called Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together. Good. So if you have blocks for a moment, let's just get them. Put them at any of their angles. They can even go really big here. So wherever your legs are the closest, whatever can keep this part soft. So you have created a very much bigger diamond here. You can take your feet out, make a bigger diamond, a lesser diamond. You decide what's most comfortable for you. Make sure your blocks are there because I want you to relax your legs a little as you sit up. It stimulates the pelvic floor. Good. Breathe. Pelvic floor is lifted, belly is lifted, breath is in the chest. Great. And then go ahead and bring in your left heel as close as you can to your groin. Just keep the block there for a moment. Take out the right block and take the right leg back into internal rotation. So the left thigh is against, the left foot is against the left thigh. Good. So just sitting up nice and tall again. This little modified bull pose. You notice I have my block right underneath my left thigh. And then I'm going to do a little twist over to the left side. Keep both sit bones on the ground. Breathing, don't forget to breathe. And on your next exhale, back to neutral. Okay? So just letting that block go. Let's bring them both for a moment back into Vajrasana, nobility pose. Good. And then bringing in the heel, I'm going to put my block right back underneath my right thigh, right knee, completely supporting it. And then take the left leg back into internal rotation. So I want to be sitting up still on both sit bones. And if I've got that leg down, it's likely that my left one will just roll right off the floor. But if I support that right leg fully, then my left sit bone is more likely to go down into the floor, root down, finding that diamond shape in the pelvic basket. Good. Exhaling and rooting down. And as you begin your inhale, begin your twist over to the right. The twist is happening in the thoracic spine where you have ribs. Both sit bones are still firmly on the floor. And then on your next exhale, release the twist. Good. Just kind of a little back and forth, soft movement for a moment. And then go ahead and remove the block and put both feet on the floor solidly, both feet firmly on the floor. Sitting up nice and tall on top of the sit bones. Just holding onto your legs. You can squeeze the legs together. That'll relax your adductors, the inside the thighs. And then we're going to do a little bit of boat pose prep. You can go all the way in if you want. Otherwise, we'll be just at the prep stage. Okay? So, holding on beneath our knees, rolling the shoulders and creating a V between our femurs and our spine. So creating that V. This is putting a lot of stimulation in Muladhara chakra. And then you can raise up your shin to parallel to the floor. And then you can switch to the other shin. You can raise both shins at once or just one shin at a time. You decide. And then get to a place where you can hold, whether you have one shin up or both shins up for a moment. Just a holding place. Make sure your neck is an extension of your spine. Don't bring your neck forward and don't drop your head back. So keeping your head firmly an extension of your spine. If you had just one leg, go ahead and release and do the other leg. Noticing that rooting, grounding, firming. And then slowly release your feet to the floor. We're going to come up into reverse table for just a moment. So placing your hands behind you. Your hands can face away or they can face in. It depends on what's most comfortable for you and your shoulder girdle. Mine are more comfortable about midway, all right? And up. Looking at your belly button. It's often called Nabi Darshan, seeing our belly button. Breathe. And then on your next exhale, lowering down. Okay. Sitting up nice and tall one more time. Good. Soles of the feet together one more time. Leaning over, just doing a little bit of pressure right onto that whole pelvic floor. Just feeling that little bit of pressure onto the pelvic floor. Peel your toes away, ball of the foot pressing, heels pressing. Good, and then help yourself up gently. And we're going to head back down to the floor. So let me just show you before you go down so you don't have to crane and look with your neck. So once we go down, we're going to do just a little bit of bridge, just to work into the mobility of that area right there. So our bridge prep. If you're on your menstrual cycle, you want to just maybe lay here and spread your legs apart and do windshield wiper pose, arching the spine and dropping the knees to one side, arch and drop. Not do an inversion, okay? If you can invert today, so you have no glaucoma or high blood pressure, uncontrolled low blood pressure, so you're fine to invert, you're not on your menstrual cycle, you're going to just do a prep. So all we're going to do is come up and lower about 5 times. And then if you're inverting, you're welcome to then take your inversion with your block firmly placed and your legs lifting up. This just helps us to return all the Apana Vayus to their proper abode. Okay? So first starting with our bridge, or if you're not inverting, just letting yourself do windshield wiper pose. Feet are mat width apart, dropping the legs to either side, arching the spine. Or bridge prep, just coming up and lower, and up and lower, up and lower. Make sure you keep your low back curved when you lower, and up and lower. Great. So if you're inverting, go ahead and take your block and put it underneath your sit bones, underneath your sacrum, sit bones are poking out to the wall in front of you, and draw your knees in, and then slowly just lift the legs toward the ceiling, flex the feet, and then relax the feet. So feet are relaxed, legs are relaxed, everything's relaxed. All of the bandhas are applied naturally, just by gravity. Relaxing your whole body. If you're not inverting, doing your windshield wiper, and then any pose that appeals to you. Just not doing a twist in your low back, pretty please. if you can release any tension in the body, in your face, in your legs. And then very gently begin to bend the knees. Draw the legs in a little bit. And then one leg at a time, reaching the foot toward the floor until both feet are firmly on the floor. Lift off the block, move it out of the way, and then slowly, slowly find your way into Shavasana. Nice and slow. So don't think that you're trapped by your mat. Let your arms extend unless it's too cold to have them on the floor. But let your arms and legs extend like a starfish, keeping your hands, however, below the heart. Finding that equilibrium in the body, homeostasis, balance, sama. Without changing it, just noticing the breath. No control, no yum. Letting the breath be. And notice it in the belly or the chest. Slowly and gently, bringing your awareness back to the breath, belly or chest, finding it, letting it expand just a little as you roll your eyes in the sockets in one direction, then the other. Letting your tongue roam the mouth, the back of the teeth, the roof of the mouth, swishing it along the front of the teeth, and then opening the mouth wide as if you were yawning. Begin to move your head gently side to side. Begin to swim the fingers and twinkle the toes. Wriggle your nose, ears, bringing all of the senses back online. All of our information comes through the senses. And then consider, if you would, bringing your hands together and then taking a nice big overhead stretch. Arch the spine. Press through the heels. Extend out. Get long. And then bend your knees one at a time. Put your feet firmly on the floor. Take your hips off the floor. Swish them over to one side. And then rock your whole body to the other side. Slowly curling up into embryo pose. All curled up, safe and secure. And then slowly and gently with your upper arm, use that hand on the floor in front of your face. Keep your chin tucked into your chest. Pushing the floor away, coming up slowly. Let your chin be the last thing that comes off as you stack the head on top of the spine. Good. Just being for another moment. And then we're going to find our comfortable seat. Okay, good. So sitting tall, finding your tall spine. Notice again the pelvic floor and relax it for a moment as if you could just lower and drift that part down to the floor. Letting your eyes close. Just sinking body into the floor. Grounding, rooting. And then with yourself firmly planted, letting the eyes flutter open. So I'm going to teach a practice this morning that really helps us in grounding. It's called Ashwini Mudra. Ashwini means horse and Mudra means seal. So this is a pose which helps us to ground down. It's not a pose, it's a practice which helps us to really ground down. You can think of a plunger. Maybe you've used a plunger in a toilet. So you have a stuffed up toilet and nothing's moving down. You can't get it to go. So you squeeze and the plunger squeezes, and then everything goes. So that's this practice of Ashwini Mudra. It uses our anal sphincter. Our goal is to isolate it. Maybe not isolate it for a few years. That's fine. Maybe all of the pelvic floor will move. The perineum and all of the pelvic muscles may move. But whatever you're doing is if you are going to stop yourself from going to the bathroom, you're going to contract and release. Contract and release rhythmically. Okay? So this practice is done on an inhaled breath. But if you inhale the breath and hold it way up in here, you're going to only aggravate the apana to come up. Okay? So what we want to do is stimulate it to go down. So you're going to hold the breath in the chest gently. Hold it like as if it were right here in the solar plexus, more so than even in the chest itself. But it is a breath, an inhaled breath. We're going to hold a small inhaled breath gently and squeeze and release rhythmically the anal sphincter. Okay, or anything that goes with it. So you may even feel like your whole bottom bounces. That's fine. Okay, so let's try that practice with me for a moment. Exhaling the breath all the way out. Taking in an inhale. Keep it small. Hold it low. Pause. Squeeze and release. the anal sphincter area. Rhythmically. Find a rhythm, stay with the rhythm. And as soon as you need to let that inhaled breath go without it exploding out, letting it flow softly with control, just stop, release the contraction and the breath slowly, and just see how you feel. Pause for a moment, let your eyes close, just checking in. You start burping and belching, you've done it improperly. You've taken the breath too big, too high, too everything. So keep the breath small, keep it low. Hold it gently like a baby, not like squeezing the dickens out of it. Hold the breath gentle and low, as if you were holding a newborn, right there. And squeeze and release the anal sphincter rhythmically. And then at the end, when you need to let the breath go, contraction goes, breath goes, everything goes, that downward flow. Okay? Let's do one more round. Exhaling the breath all the way out, belly to the spine. Inhale, low chest. Hold it. Contract and release rhythmically. As soon as you need to let go of the breath, gently with control, release contraction and breath. And sitting for a moment, just noticing the effects of the practice. At the end, we'll talk about this practice and anything you might have felt. So just remember any sensations. If you want to burp or belch, we need to talk about that. Good. So we're going to move into our meditation this morning. That's our only practice that's going to help us stay grounded is Ashwini Mudra. And we're going to do the mudra of Apana. So our meditation, we're going to hold the thumb to the ring and middle finger together, and the other two are extended. So thumb, like a deer, holding in, other two are extended, and we're resting our hands on the back of our legs, the back of the hands on the legs. Good. So holding this Apana Mudra, downward flow. If you have a heavy menstrual cycle, let go of the mudra and just letting your hands rest gently in your lap. Good. Letting the eyes close gently. Imagine for a moment that you're sitting on a mossy bed and you're growing tendrils down through the moss, out of your legs, out of your arms and back and front. Even your hair begins to grow down, seeking tendrils till you are fully rooted down into Mother Earth, into this bed of moss. Just like a plant, tethering yourself. The mantra that you can repeat silently is the mantra of Mother Earth. Lung, 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 lung. Holding the mudra of Apana. Repeating the sound of Mother Earth. Rooting tendrils down into the ground. Imagining deep inside you a seed growing. This seed has all the possibilities of a better place in the mind. Envisioning your body seated on a bed of moss, tethered into the ground with a new seed inside you, silently repeating lung, lung, lung. Lung, lung, lung. And then imagining, if you will, the tendrils begin to dry and fall away until you are sitting in your own right on that bed of moss, like a pumpkin, ready to fall away from the vine. Realizing inside of you is a fresh seed. And you can remember your true immortal nature, completely letting go of the vine. You are whole, and everything you need is inside of you. Releasing the mudra, releasing the mantra, releasing the meditation. Bringing the hands into the heart. Any merit we may have earned this morning in our practice, we lift it up to the welfare of all sentient beings. Remembering your intention and repeating it again to yourself. Then letting that thought slip out down into your mind again, from your mind to your heart to your hands, and just lift it up and let it go. Off into the universe. Just let go. Hands back into the heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste. I'm coming to you. Okay. You're so welcome, Nayana. Let's see. Let me do all the things I have to do to get you back where you go. Allow participants to unmute. Let me get you in gallery so I can see your pretty faces. Good. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay. So nice to see you. Oh, I'm so glad, Rashmi. I'm so glad. How did it go for you? How do you feel grounded? Are you like stuck in Mother Earth right now? Are you okay? Thanks, Jen. Thank you. Yeah, good. Excellent. I want you to feel rooted and grounded, and know that these are the practices that you can do to really bring yourself back into that groundedness, right? Good. I'm glad, Dalila, that you were the Ashwini Mudra worked for you today. Anybody have any problems with wanting to belch or burp or anything after it happened? Good, because I think that's the lesson of holding it low. You know, I think people have a tendency to hold it way too high and they get it reversed and then they're belching and burping. Yeah. Any questions about Ashwini Mudra? It took me years to isolate my anal sphincter. I still remember exactly where I was the first time it happened. It was like one of those things that you just remember your whole life. Because I know, I bounced my whole self. I think if you walked past me in Ashwini Mudra, you'd see a little bounce with my whole body because there was no way in the world I could isolate. It took about 3 years. And I was in the Redwood room, which is our big old trailer that we do yoga in. And I just announced to the whole class afterwards I was teaching, but I just isolated my anal sphincter. I'd never done it before. Oh my goodness. So I just want you to know that it is normal that might take a while. It may not take you 3 full years like it took me. You may be a lot quicker learner than I am, but it definitely took me 3 years. Anybody, I want to just make sure you all feel good. Yes, Sylvia.
Yes, yeah, I feel wonderful. Since you talked about the baby, using the breath as a baby, I've been realizing, and today I was able to explore, I've been realizing that I do pranayama very forcefully. I was not aware of it. And I was trying very gentle, and it does feel like it opens different possibilities. I'm not there yet, but I feel like by getting into much more subtle movement, I am kind of allowing other muscles or other things to move instead of kind of like punching. Or I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you start to realize, I think you start to realize the power of the practice isn't in that muscular energy. It's in like riding a wave. It's like surfing, right? It's like you just have to be able to go with it. It's not, you can't shove that wave. You can't make that wave. You can't do anything to it. It's just you learning to be one with the wave. It's the same thing with the breath. You're just learning to be one with the breath so that you control it. But that control is like right where it belongs. It's not, if you start your lock too early, doesn't work. You start your lock too late, doesn't work. You got to find where you're ready. Where does that lock? Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. It's a gentle listening to the body. It's not like Muladhara, Mula Bandha, and then Jalandhar Bandha. It's not that. It's not. I mean, I know for some people it is, but it's truly not. Yeah.
And maybe I have been, I used to do full yogic breath, starting with the belly and then expanding the lungs, but all the way to the top more than the sides. And I don't know.
I think it's fine, Sylvia, but what I want people to realize is there's so much in the back body that's not explored. If we keep the breath just to the front, we're also losing capacity, right? So it's not that you can't come up here, you can, but I want you to feel everything else first, because I know some people that this is what their breath looks like. Hold on. Because somewhere they thought that being able to get it up in here was important, right? So they'll go, and you'll see this go like this. You'll see all these things just happening right in that whole area, right? And that's not it. It's not, like when the breath comes, you want to let it follow its natural rhythm. Exhaling out, I'll shut up in a minute and you'll see that I need to inhale because I'm not exhaling fully until I can be quiet. So I felt my breath did come up into that area that time, but it came in gently. It came in because I was ready for it to come in, right? Not that I have to like pull it in again, right? And I think, and this has really helped me, I zigzag my breath in. And so like from the side, if you could see, like my belly goes out first, right? Let me see if I can do it like this, where you're just seeing where the breath comes. So I feel like I first go right into my belly, and then I go back, and then I go forward, and then I go back, and then I go forward, and then I go back. It's not so much, you can't really control that much of the muscular energy that's there. But like Babaji says, where the mind goes, pran goes. If you think about it, you're going to get there, right? Where the mind goes, pran goes. Where pran goes, the mind goes. So I'm always thinking about like trying to fill up that whole big diameter of my thoracic cage, which is not just on the front part of my body, but also the sides and the back part, right? The way that the diaphragm moves, here's the spine, here's my diaphragm, and it kind of it's like an umbrella opening and closing. It goes up and down the spine, but it goes out to the sides. And all, it goes all over. The spine is there, but it's like an umbrella. And right up here is the heart. The heart is sitting at the top of it, and it's attached to the diaphragm. So it's like, out and in and out. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt very different, and I felt that the exhalation and maybe even the end of the inhalation was more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it requires so much force. I don't think any of it requires so much force. I think it requires clarity and a deep understanding of how the breath works. And I think you get that by listening. Yes, I've studied. Yes, I've had my hands around some lungs. Yes, I totally get the whole thoracic cavity. Yes, I've played with the diaphragm. I understand the relationship of the diaphragm to the heart. So yes, I have studied because I love that stuff. I just love it, right? But also how you interpret it in your body can still be different. There are lots of doctors who do things they shouldn't do. And they know the body really, really well, right? So yes, Manika. Hi, Manika.
And the Ashwini Mudra, you said that you hold the breath, just not yama. Just hold it and then do the pull-up
contractions.
Contraction. But I noticed that kind of after 3 or 4 doing that, I was like tight I was holding the breath. Not holding softly, gently, like you hold a baby, you say, but I was holding it tight.
Right. So I think the thing to do is just to stop there and let the breath out, right? So that maybe you only do 10 contractions, but you've done them softly, and then you build on that, right? Babaji explained it to me like a plunger, because I said, I don't understand how if you're squeezing it, it's going to go, I think it's going to go back up. And he, said it like the toilet, like you're squeezing so it goes down. But if you squeeze it too hard, I'm sure that people have plunged and had it just shoot out of that toilet up into their face too. I'm sure that's also possible, because I've had lots of beginning students who they just did the Ashwini Mudra, and they're like burp, belch, burp, burp, which means that they've reversed the Apana, right? And we don't want to do that. So it's just really getting yourself used to it. So I would say, if that were me, then I would just stop at when I start to feel it getting really tight, I just stop there. Maybe I did 10 or 12 contractions. Let that breath go. Let the contraction go. Let everything go. Take a catch breath or two, and then draw in another one and hold it. Contract, release, contract, release, contract, release, contract, until I start to feel like I'm squeezing too hard, and then just release it, and then contract it. So I think really just paying attention to see when it gets too contracted, and letting that go, and then just moving into it more slowly. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah. So asana, the seated asana for Apana is really, really good. And squat is like the best. And goddess pose is good. But the standing poses are really good because our legs are part of our Apana. So doing the standing poses and making ourselves root down while we lift the pelvic floor, engage the pelvic floor, spread ourselves so that we're really rooted in those poses. I think it's one of the best ways for us to learn that is to do a lot of standing poses. Yeah. Okay. Well, if nobody has anything else, it was how does inversion help with the Apana? Oh, that's a great question. So the inversion helps with all 5 Prana Vayus. When you invert, you stimulate all 5 Prana Vayus. The bandhas are applied naturally. When you're upside down, your Muladhara chakra is just falling in, right? It's falling in with gravity. So you don't have to hold it because it's coming in. Your Udiyan, your belly comes in, and your pressure at Jalandhar on your throat and Viparit is there. So all 3 of the bandhas are applied naturally, and it resets all the 5 Prana Vayus because all of their seats are affected. So it's really an excellent, if people can invert, and it doesn't have to be a big fancy inversion. You don't have to do headstand, handstand. You can just do legs up the wall with a little bit of lift in the hips, as long as you aren't on your menstrual cycle or shouldn't be inverting. But that little bit of inversion at the end of a practice, especially like Manipah, for example, today, maybe you did hold too much and you kind of disturbed it, and it was going to go up, and look like in an hour you'll have breakfast and you'll be burping and belching after breakfast. Why? Because you got your Apana reversed. But if you do an inversion at the end, it helps all of those things you did in your pranayama, and I mean at the very end, even after pranayama, because we did our inversion earlier. But if you're feeling after a pranayama practice that you have kind of out of whack, that's when you need to invert again at the end of class. Legs up the wall, bottom up on something, spend 5 minutes there, and you're good to go. Does that help, Dalia? Yeah, great. Yeah, it's really good to do that inversion, just to do that reverse and get that little bit of stimulation into all of the chakras and the bandhas. Yeah. You don't have to do a bandha. They're done for you when you're in Viparit. It's great. Okay, everyone, a pleasure to hang out with you this morning, and we'll do samana. We're going to do our belly fire, okay, on Tuesday of next week. It is Thursday, Ginger. So Tuesday we'll do samana, and then we're going to go up from there. Okay. All right. A pleasure to see you all. Much love. Take care.